Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. This is John Frassinelli at the State Department of Education. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined by our wonderful team here at the department. I just wanted to join you at the beginning for a few minutes to offer, first of all, to offer my thanks and our thanks from the commissioner about all of the work that you're doing. We know that it's a super challenge given all of the things that are happening in your school districts with shifts in remote learners and trying to do multiple modes of meal provision all at the same time. So we thank you for that. We are singing your praises here, and we're making sure that whenever we have an opportunity to talk to superintendents, that they understand what a great job you're doing. So thank you so much for that. A couple of announcements. I have a call every week, actually precedes this call, that I just came off of with the State Department of Public Health with local health directors, and it's very well attended by local health. There's probably 170 or so directors who participate in that call. And so if you have something that you have questions about with regard to local health administration, and it's something that I can bring up either to DPH or on that call, please let me know. The other ask that I have is you are likely the person in your school buildings or in your school districts who have the best relationship with your local health directors. So we're hearing some, I wouldn't call them concerns, but some reports that it's been challenging for local health to get information from superintendents and building administrators when they need information about either a positive case of COVID or outages or people who are out or people who are quarantining. So if there's a way that you can bridge that conversation, we certainly would appreciate you being able to do that. Some things came out recently that I wanted to you to be aware of. Addendum 14 came out last week, and that's now posted on our website. The website front page of the COVID page has been revamped a little bit, so things are shifted around a little bit. Everything is there. Addendum 14 is about supporting student attendance during COVID. And this is a companion document to guidance that went out about a week and a half ago about how school districts should be calculating attendance with regard to the number of hours that a student is actively engaged in remote learning, to the number of hours that a student is in school. So that's important, because unless I'm mistaken, and I'm going to look for head nods here, unless I'm mistaken, if a district decides that they have to shut and they're not considering that a school day, then meals are not reimbursable for that day. That's still correct? So if they're not having something actively happening, either students can be doing work at home, and as long as the school is counting it as a school day, then meals can be reimbursed for that day.
So John, let me just jump in really quick. So that is true if you choose the pathway of school breakfast or school lunch, but under the seamless summer option or summer food service program, you would still be able to distribute meals. Okay,
great. And I don't anticipate that schools are going to, consider that a non-countable day of the 177 days that you're open, but just putting it out there. Also, we're working with the Department of Emergency Management, Emergency Services and Public Protection, and the National Guard to deliver masks to schools. And right now, the first distribution of masks is starting to go out on September 28th, and those will include masks for, basically they're adult masks, but they're geared for grades 7 through 12. Masks for younger kids are going out before that. As far as I know, these are masks that are supposed to be for students. I don't know about the utilization for staff, but I would imagine that that's a local decision. And then lastly, we have a superintendent's call. The department has a superintendent's call on Friday. This is just for superintendents, and it's in addition to our Tuesday calls with superintendents, local health directors, school nurses, and others. Just to give you a heads up, it's a sort of a closed conversation with superintendents, but just know that's happening. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the importance of making sure that you're accommodating our students with life-threatening food allergies. I'm getting a lot of calls, not necessarily calls that you're not doing it, but I want to make sure that this is front burner for you all, that your families are aware of that they can get an accommodation for meals due to a life-threatening food allergy. So once again, I appreciate all of the work that you're doing, and I want to acknowledge the work of the team, of the faces that I see, and the others who are working from home, just working around the clock to make sure you guys have what you need. And so we appreciate everyone's efforts, and just thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I'm going to have to step off for another call, but I'm leaving it in capable hands. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, John. So as a lot of you know, I'm Shannon Yearwood. I oversee the child nutrition programs on behalf of the Department of Education, and John is our division director, and we fall under his leadership. So thank you so much for joining us. We will keep this very brief. We have once again a packed agenda today. We are trying very hard to leave a lot of room at the end so that you can type in your questions. I do want to remind you that you have the ability to submit questions ahead of time. Please do that. That helps us know exactly where we're going to start with answering questions when we are in that Q&A period. It also helps us know when which topics you really need us to cover. So that said, we have one more of these town halls scheduled, and that's for next Wednesday, the end of the federal fiscal year. So you can help bring in the new federal fiscal year with us next Wednesday. And we will likely schedule these as needed going forward. So if there's a high demand for us to be doing these, continue these weekly, we will certainly take that into consideration. But we are a very small and mighty team here, and there are a lot of changes, a lot of pivots, and we work very hard to make sure that the information you have is concise as possible, and that any sort of flexibilities that we are authorized to grant, that we put those into implementation as soon as possible. And so that does mean that we have a lot of time where we need to analyze what we're being sent and then turn that around into something that's practicable for you here in Connecticut. So just a reminder, USDA does issue guidance and questions and answers to some of the waiver flexibilities that they've granted. Please do not assume that once those are issued that they apply in that exact way in Connecticut. As a reminder, USDA does have to create policy waivers, Q&As, questions and answers, for the entire nation. And so it's never one size fits all. So what we do is we look at those and we really dig deep into that and make sure that we're providing you the guidance that is applicable here in Connecticut. And as I started off last town hall, these programs are really, you sign that permanent agreement with us to make sure that you are administering these programs in a way that follows the rules and regulations and the flexibilities that we have opted into as a state and that we are implementing. So again, don't just start running, definitely reach out to us and we'll let you know which ones you can start running with and which ones we are going to have to follow up with you with additional steps to be able to approve that. So there is a big difference in that. We work very hard to make sure that we're not collecting any additional information above and beyond what we absolutely need to collect for our accountability measures to USDA. So please know that. We also recognize this is I know probably everybody is getting a little worn on the term unprecedented, but this truly is an unprecedented time. We have a ton of flexibilities that we've been able to implement through these programs, but the regular rules and regulations really do supersede all those flexibilities. So trying to navigate that is complex, it's confusing. A lot of the authorizations we've been able to move forward with have never been done before, such as being able to operate summer programs during an actual academic year. This is the first time in history that that's happened. So please be patient with us as we figure out how to provide you the guidance. We don't have all the answers. We are waiting for additional guidance from our federal agency, the USDA, who doesn't have all the answers yet either. We're all trying to figure this out together. So please keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that when we do send out things through school lunch tray, through other communications, if you get updates from the address CSDE Child Nutrition, please know that that is information you need to know. That's not just a nice to have information. So please read that. We put together instructions. We try to put out screenshots to make it as easy to implement and as efficient as it can be to implement on your end. So please keep that in mind. What you see for our team who's helping with school nutrition, for summer meals, we have a couple other team members that are working on these programs with us that you're not seeing here today, but we are a really small team. So don't ask us if you already have the information. Ask us if you need help problem solving and navigating through particular circumstances. But if you're asking us if you've already submitted something, please go ahead and check that yourself before you contact us, because our team goes above and beyond. So with that, I also wanted to mention that we just announced the equipment assistance grant. So it was extremely competitive this year. We had 54 applications and we had the funding to be able to award 19 of those. So that notification did go out yesterday. If you are a fiscal year 19 equipment assistance grant recipient, please know the reporting form for that year is coming out soon. It's very short and very sweet. Please let me know if you have any challenges in completing it by the deadline, and I'll work with you on that. So with that, we are going to disappear from your vision, but we're not very far away. We are right here in the background as each one of us presents. We find that that is something that works pretty well for us. So we're going to continue with that, and then we will all be back to reappear for the Q&A session. So please enter your questions. You don't have to wait till the end to answer those questions. We will probably wait till the end to answer them, but certainly enter them before you forget what they are, and we will go through those as we get those. We are going to start with the questions that were submitted ahead of time, so that's just hopefully a little bit more encouragement for you to submit those ahead of time. If you lost the link to do that, check it out. It's in School Lunch Tray. So thank you so much, and if you aren't getting School Lunch Tray, let us know. We'll make sure that you're signed up for it. On that very dramatic note, I am going to go ahead and pass it along to my amazing colleagues, starting with Terry.
Thank you, Shannon. We're going to start off with talking about some of the information that we have sent out and asked you to submit to us. When we develop an agenda for the town hall, we look at questions that have been submitted, and if there's a lot of questions around a certain topic, that may become part of the agenda. We also look at things that are due, and if there are outstanding sponsors who haven't submitted the information yet, we want to talk about it. So the first thing that I want to address is the application, the online application for the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. This email was issued on August 14th, and the due date to have that application submitted was September 15th. And so it's very important that if you have not submitted that application, that you go into the online system and you fill it out, including the site information sheets for the schools, and that you do submit it. So that way your county consultant will go in and then approve it. You cannot claim until the application is updated and has been approved by the State Department of Education. So that was one area. If you haven't done it, you definitely want to go in as soon as possible to get that application done. We know that we have sent out numerous emails, and we know there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of expectations of all of the sponsors, and it's crazy. So we just want to remind you that if you haven't done it yet, you want to make sure that you get it done. And if you have submitted it, you don't need to contact your county consultant to see and to check if it has been submitted. We will certainly let you know, and you'll get an email from us when it has been approved. The other application that's important that you received information on is the application for meal service through the Summer Food Service Program and Seamless Summer Option during school year 2020-21 through December 31st of 2020. This was also due on September 15th, and that email was issued on September 4th. So it's important that all sponsors, including those sponsors that are not going to opt to do the Seamless Summer Option or the Summer Food Service Program, that you complete that application and that you submit it. Because we are going to be monitoring those sponsors, and we want confirmation of the program that you chose to operate through December 31st. And so everyone has to submit it, and it has to be signed by the authorized signer. And if you're new, we have a lot of new food service directors. If you're new, your authorized signers are found in your online agreement. So you can find out who your authorized signer is by checking that out. And there's two. Usually the first one is the superintendent, just to let you know. And the other thing that I want to address is retroactive reimbursements. And USDA issued a nationwide waiver that allows for retroactive reimbursements for the beginning of school year 2021. And it allows school districts that if you're opting to do the seamless summer option, you can, and you had a few days where you operated under the National School Lunch Program, you can claim all of those meals under the seamless summer option if you want to. But if you decide to do that, you have to reimburse, you have to have a method of reimbursing the families who paid for their lunches, whether it was full pay or reduced priced. So if you decide that you do want to go back to the beginning of the school year to do retroactive payments and claim all of those meals under SSO free, then you would have to have a method of reimbursing those families who paid for their meals under the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. You do have the option, if you want to claim those original meals for the few days that you served them under the National School Lunch Program, if you want to claim them under the umbrella of the National School Lunch Program, that's fine. And then you can claim the meals for SSO when you started the seamless summer option. So you just want to make sure you think about that and decide what you want to do. And if you have any questions, you can certainly contact your county consultant. Okay, and with that, I am going to switch it over to Susan Alston and Caroline.
Susan, you're muted. Thank you. Sorry, and that was such a great entry. No, I'm just kidding. So today I'm going to talk about the email that we sent out on Friday. So on Friday, we sent out the area eligibility waiver that everyone had been waiting for, along with the instructions on updating the online system if you are SSO or participating in SSO. And in that email, I really encourage you to make sure you read the email entirely. There's a lot of information in there and links that will be helpful in determining your area eligibility. And also, when you're getting ready for SSO to update your sites, like we're asking you to, read the instructions step by step. It's a great resource for figuring out what to do, what not to do when you're in the online system. So as we know, when you first applied with using the application to determine if you were going to stay NSLP or go with SSO or SFSP, that application was the first step in the process to be able to do that. In that application, one of the points in there was that that application and participating in SSO or even in SFSP hinged on area eligibility, and that application would be forthcoming. So it did. It came about a week later. So now you have that. So the area eligibility application does not replace your application that you submitted for SSO or SFSP. It's not the same thing. They actually are tied together. So if your site or your district is not normally eligible to participate in either one of the summer programs, because you're not in an area that's eligible to do so, that's what this waiver application does. So in order to be able to do SSO or SFSP, you need to have area eligibility. And this waiver allows you to opt into that and really be waiving that area eligibility requirement so that your sites can participate in SSO or SFSP. So in the email that we sent out, if you're not sure if your sites do meet this or do not meet this, you want to look at those two options that we list. So one is if you have you meet the free and reduced requirement of over 50%, then that is where you would, wait a minute, hold on. Sorry, I'm gonna check something. Yeah, So you want to make sure, right, that if you have the requirement for the free and reduced with the students, then that makes you eligible. So you don't want to check our area eligibility list. And if your sites are on there or your district is on there, then that means that you don't need the area eligibility waiver. Also, if you have sites or all of your sites might be eligible through the census information, then you would want to look at that. Then you wouldn't need that waiver. Some people may have some that are eligible through both ways, so you would want to look at that. For example, I had one sponsor who contacted me. They had 8 sites in total. 6 of them are on that area eligibility list that we have on our website, but 2 weren't. But we were able to find the 2 on through the census information, which is linked through that email, and through that, they were able to make sure that all of their sites are area eligible and don't need to provide us with that waiver. Another sponsor, contacted and said that they didn't think they could use the waiver. They didn't think that any of the items that were listed applied to them. And they actually did. So if you think for some reason when you look at that waiver, it's overwhelming and you're confused and that you may not think that you could apply for it, please reach out to your county consultant. Most likely there is a point on there that does relate to your situation, whether it be kids from your community that go to regional schools, or you have a certain hybrid method that you are using to feed those meals. So we want to make sure that you just read the instructions, read the directions. If you have questions for us, you could reach out to the schools team for SSO or to Caroline for SFSP.
So so I was just going to jump in. Susan's got everything exactly right. And I will say for SFSP sponsors, you may or may not have received the waiver application. So if you didn't, that was most likely on purpose because you are one of our fortunate communities that has area eligibility throughout the entire community. So you're not going to have an issue with any of your schools. But if you are one of those communities that has pockets of eligibility, we did send it out directly to you so that you would have access to do the same. So the only one thing that I want to add is that if you look at your sites and you determine using census data that you have a site that is eligible, according to normal traditional summer meals rules, and that's something that you want to be able to maintain for the next few years moving forward. There is the opportunity to start a 5-year eligibility cycle, and this is the time to do it. October 1st, USDA overwrites all of that census data that's in the online mapper that we gave you the link to. So if it's eligible right now and it's one of those pockets that's not always eligible, this is a great time to take advantage of that and help build opportunities for summer meals in your community for the next 4 years. But there's a very short time frame for you to be able to do that. So if you have one of those sites, you want to reach out to us quickly so we can help confirm and document that eligibility for you so that that site will remain accessible to you.
Thank you, Caroline. So I think that's it for me with area eligibility. And we're going to hand it over to Therese, who's going to talk about one of our new resources.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So in the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a handout that's available. It's a comparison chart, which outlines the 3 programs that you're able to choose to participate for your operation through December. And so basically the comparison chart, and I'm just going to bring it up to help myself visualize for a moment. Hold on. We'll go over the eligibility site, both as a sponsor and site eligibility. It will provide information on the types of meal service locations, types of operation, times of operation, rates of reimbursement, meal costs for children, reimbursement and claiming, age of participating students, types of meals, number of meals that can be claimed per day, meal service requirements, meal pattern, USDA foods, required monitoring for the food the school food authorities or sponsors, and district contracts for food service management companies. Non-congregate feeding, meal service times, parent guardian pickup, well, basically all of the waivers that are available currently. For example, parent guardian pickup offer versus serve, meal pattern flexibilities, area eligibility, and the additional waivers that are available. Basically, what the handout will do, it will kind of compare the programs in these areas. And if you have, basically to help you look at the differences from programs you might have operated in the past and the one that you chose to operate in the fall. If you're still undecided, it might also assist you in choosing which program will work best for your district. Next, I think we are heading to questions. And Terry, I believe you're gonna oversee that.
So thank you so much, Teresa and Susan and Caroline and Terry. This just very, very briefly on the comparison chart as well. So that is, it's meant to be a resource for you so that you really know what's available to you and what is a little bit different in operating these programs up through the waiver authority of December 31st for school year 2020-21. So please know when you're looking at that comparison chart that it is really only exclusively applicable to this time period. It's not applicable to other time periods. We really tailored that to be responsive to the waiver authorities that we have and that we're able to implement. So I'm going to ask the whole team to come back on with me and we will dive right into those questions. So please submit any questions that you have and we will do our best to answer them. We have about a half an hour, so plenty of time to be able to answer those for you. And we will start with the question that was submitted ahead of time. And I believe Terry is going to field that.
Would you like me to read it?
Please.
Okay. The question was, in our hybrid model, the school day is shortened to 5.5 hours, meaning some students arrive at 9 a.m., eat their breakfast, and have lunch beginning at 10:30. Will the mealtime waiver address this? And the short answer is yes, it will. That was easy.
So the long answer is that the meal service time waiver is what allows you to be able to serve for evening distributions, to make it a little bit easier for working parents to be able to pick those meals up for your remote learners, your hybrid learners. So certainly, if you're struggling with which waivers you're going to need to implement, just contact your counseling consultant, your SFSP team member, and talk through what you're trying to accomplish, and we will help guide you. Again, we know this is extremely unprecedented time. So we have another question, and I believe, Terry, this one is also one that you are going to.
Sure. This one is, has there been a decision on how administrative reviews will be handled this year? And for the new directors that are on, or the new people that are watching, the state agency does administrative reviews every year. And that means that we go in and we review your child nutrition programs, your school child nutrition programs, national school lunch, school breakfast, after school snack, fresh fruit and vegetable. We look at them all. It's very comprehensive. This year is incredibly unique, and we haven't made a decision about how administrative reviews will be handled. And it's going to be October next week. So it's my knowledge, we don't have any idea on how we're going to be doing administrative reviews. We're waiting for USDA guidance to see what their expectations are. We know that schools are really limiting outsiders from coming in due to COVID. And we all want to make sure that everybody is safe. We want to be safe. So as soon as we decide anything, we will let you know. And I just want, Shannon, did you want to add anything to that?
So when we do move down the pathway of really determining how we're going to tackle administrative reviews for this year, we are going to do our best to make as many components of it virtual and offsite as possible. We have been granted the flexibility to do that, and hopefully USDA will remain consistent with that. So we will get back to you when we have more information on that. But please know for administrative reviews, and again, for those of you who haven't done it, they're big, they're complex, but we're here to support you and to help you navigate those. We are certainly not a gotcha agency. We're an agency who wants to see you succeed. And that's why we work so hard to develop resources that we think will be helpful to you. So we have, many of you knew Jackie Shipke, who has since left our team, but she was spearheaded the administrative review organizational tool development, which has been a national best practice. And that's something that we use and we will probably adapt for the administrative reviews and how they're going to look for this coming year or so. And so please know that if you follow the tools we give you, you're definitely going to succeed in making sure that you're prepared for it. The other resource that I shamefully neglected to remind you of is our program guidance page, and also that we have a specific child nutrition page that is specific to COVID-19. We have reorganized that a little bit to make it really clear what you can expect applies to the school year 2020-2021, at least through December 31st, which is when most of the authorizations right now go through. We do have some flexibilities through school breakfast, school lunch that will continue through June 30th, and you'll also find those there. You'll find the paperwork you need there if you can't find that email. So certainly check that out, bookmark it, highly recommend that. Susan Fiore on our team is just probably the fastest typer I've ever seen in my entire life, and she develops resources that are just stellar, and they're really useful, and they are all available there, and she is extremely good at making sure that they are all as current as they can be. So certainly check that out. It will be a great resource for you. So another question that came in, and I'm going to go ahead and field this one, is what the status of claiming the after school snack program, which is a part of the National School Lunch Program Authorities. And that is, so for those of you who have chosen to either go down the road of the summer food service program or seamless summer option of the National School Lunch Program for this coming school year through December 31st, a lot of you have been asking us, can we also participate in the after school snack program and also serve that if we choose to go down the route of seamless summer or summer food service program? We honestly do not have the answer to that yet. That is a question that has been posed to USDA frequently, a lot, from many, many states. USDA has indicated that that is one of the questions that they have under review, and they hope to issue guidance and clarification on that any day now. So as soon as we know, we will certainly pass it along. We know that's a hot topic. We know it's something you want to do. So for those of you who are also child and adult care food program at-risk after-school meal sponsors, please know that you are able to operate that at-risk program, even if you're also operating summer meals. Typically, those two programs are not allowed to, those three programs, I guess, from Summer Food Service Program and SSO to the CACFP at-risk after-school meals programs. Typically, those are not allowed to operate at the same time, but we are not in typical times, because also school breakfast, school lunch during the school year typically don't operate with summer meals. So please keep in mind that USDA has come out on that program and said that it can operate at the same time for this period of time. So Caroline, I'm going to kick it over to you for the next question.
Okay, so the question is, if a school is not on the area eligible list, or it's a census list, but I'm assuming on the map for census data, but currently has 51% of enrolled students approved for free or reduced price meals, what status do they list on the area eligibility waiver? So we do send out the area eligible school list once a year. It's generally compiled in January and released in February. That is the list for the year, and that is the list that we are using. SFSP and SSO has some flexibility in terms of what month of data they can use. That data is driven by October data normally annually, but in the circumstances that we're currently in, obviously there's a challenge with using other months. So if you have a month of claim data in which there is another percentage for free and reduced price eligible students, I would encourage you to reach out to me. And and I can walk you through it because that's going to be a little bit of a complicated case-by-case basis. But the short answer is use the list that we've released. That's the official list. If a school or a site is not on that official list, you can look on the census data map and determine if it's eligible by census data. And then if you get stuck from there, most likely you will be using the area eligibility waiver. But Therese and myself have a little bit more experience investigating area eligibility, so we will assist you on a case-by-case basis. Oh, and there was one other thing that I wanted to mention. I think it was going back to when Terry was originally presenting on retroactive payment of reimbursements. She specifically mentioned SSO, so I just want to make sure everyone knows that also applies to SFSP. So if you've submitted your SFSP application, it's been approved, that's retroactive back to the beginning of the school year for SFSP as well.
I had sorry, can you hear me? Just to add on to Caroline's answer, they can move forward and use the waiver as well for area eligibility. So the one option is the school data, the census data, and if it's not, either one is applicable, that's when you would complete the area eligibility waiver. Certainly you can investigate and see if this is a possibility, but that's the third option.
Right, the question is specific to if they're at 51% now. So my assumption is that they're looking to be able to establish traditional eligibility. But yes, correct. So if you have a site or a school that's not on the area eligible school list, it is not on the map for census data, then you can stop your investigations right there. We're happy to have you access the area eligibility waiver application. We know you have plenty of other things to spend your time on. This is really only if you have a strong suspicion that you could establish a 5-year eligibility cycle and you want to be able to exercise that right.
Thank you.
There's another question that came in. It says, please clarify how districts should be recording meals that serve for multiple days. Do meals need to be counted by the day, i.e. Monday, breakfast, lunch, Tuesday, breakfast, lunch, Wednesday, breakfast and lunch, or can the districts, now just moved, hold on. Or can the districts count 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches all on Monday when the meals are given to the households? So the meal should be counted for the day that the meal service pertains to. So if you're giving them all on Monday, but you would claim or count Monday's meals on Monday, Tuesdays on Tuesdays, Wednesdays on Wednesdays. The reason for this is in potentially you're going to be entering a claim, and you need to claim the meals for the days that you're providing the meals. And even though you provided all the meals on the Monday, the meals pertain to the corresponding days for the days of the week that follow. And that also leads me to think of reminding you, shortly we'll be updating the online system. That being said, a lot of districts did implement this type of model in the past, and they do need to keep in mind that when you're updating your site application, that you do need to indicate all the days that the meals would correspond, not just the days you're providing the meals for the rest of the week, because that will significantly impact your ability to claim those meals that you gave out. Because as you know, at least I'm going to just specify in the summer food service program, you can only claim the 2 meals, or say you're doing breakfast and lunch, you only can claim those 2 meals for breakfast and lunch. You can't have them multiple days. The system won't allow it. So I don't know if anyone else wants to add information for different programs.
So I'm just going to jump in here too, Therese, just a reminder for folks, and you'll see this on the comparison chart handout, and it's another frequently asked question that we get is, can we serve on the weekends? Can we serve over holidays? Can we serve over breaks? And we alluded to this a little bit before in the beginning when John was talking about whether or not you're counting something as an instructional day. So just to let you know, and this is, like I said, it's in the comparison chart handout, that the traditional school breakfast and school lunch programs, they are required to be only operating during what your school or district considers an instructional day, an operating day. So if your district is counting it as an instructional day, then you can serve and claim under school breakfast, school lunch. If you are serving under seamless summer option or summer food service program, then you have a little bit more flexibility around not having to tie that to an instructional day. And both the summer food service program and seamless summer option do allow for weekends and holiday meals to be served and claimed for reimbursement. So just to put that out as kind of an additional thing that to add on to what Teresa was saying. So I believe our next, thank you so much, Teresa, too, that I believe our next question is going back over to Caroline.
Yes, so this was a request to confirm something I just said, which I'm happy to do. Did I say that the programs are approved for SFSP to claim meals back to the beginning of the school year retroactively? And the answer is yes. So we approved as of the day, most of the applications we approved as of the day we received them. We know that some schools did start prior to the application being sent out based on USDA's timing to allow use of SSO and SFSP into the fall months. We have received a waiver since then from USDA that allows us to waive the very strong SFSP requirement that you have written approval from us prior to meals being served in order for them to be reimbursable. There's some unusual language in it that we're exploring. I don't want to go open that can of worms specifically, but Teresa and I worked diligently with the SFSP sponsors this year to find out if true summer meals extended into September, and worked with you to get applications extended where they needed to be. I'm fairly confident that we knew who was doing summer meals versus when school was starting. So you will get more additional details as USDA releases them, but the approval to pay retroactively applies to both programs.
Thank you. And Caroline, while you were speaking, another question came in that I think you are also able to answer. So, you know, one of the things that is a little bit unique, I'll give you a second to read while I summarize this. Something that's a little bit unique in Connecticut that we do to make your lives easier is we develop not just the area eligible list, but we also really look into, are there other ways that we can help you have site eligibility? And so we develop another list that's called the site eligible list. And that is something that we specifically in Connecticut do to help you not have to have the administrative burden of proving that to us. So the question around the site eligible list is how that really interacts with area eligibility. So I'm going to hand it off to Caroline because she, I know, will be able to explain this in good detail. And hopefully I gave you enough time to be able to read the question and know what it is.
Yes, I think I do. So if a school is site eligible, so for example, a magnet school, but it's not on the area eligible school list, is theoretically on the site eligible school list, and it's not eligible by census data. So first of all, keep in mind, if it's not on the area eligible school list, if it's not eligible by census data, you still have the area eligible waiver application you can utilize to be able to serve at that site for this year, specific to this year. So as Shannon mentioned, there are two lists that we release. So the list that gets used primarily is the area eligible school list. That is our traditional districted schools. It's for schools that are 50% or higher combination of free and reduced price eligible students. Reduced price school meal eligible students, not the students being eligible. The site eligible list is a little different than the area eligible school list. So the site eligible list pertains to our special schools like charter schools, magnet schools, school choice schools, where it's not defining a geographic boundary, it's defining the eligibility percentage of a specific population of children that's determined on an individual household basis. So it can't be used in the same way that the area eligible school list is. During normal summer meals operations, we use that area eligible school list to make those schools eligible. We are also able to use that list to make other addresses in the community eligible to host an open summer meals site. That cannot happen with a site eligible school because it doesn't define a geographic boundary. It defines a specific group of kids. So it's only applicable to that specific group of kids. So the site eligible list is applicable. It's a much trickier business, but again, we can guide you through the use of that list if you feel like it's applicable to you, and it certainly is applicable to some of our charter and magnet schools especially. And so we will be utilizing that list, but you will need possibly a little bit more technical assistance with that process.
Thank you so much. And just to kind of add on to that too, so the schools that are site eligible typically serve that population, not the full community. So there might be a need to do that area eligibility waiver in order to be able to also serve children from the community. So we know that children who attend schools that are far from where they reside, we have the initial round of waivers that came out didn't allow us to be able to really meet those kids where they're at. And so this new flexibility around area eligibility and having that extended through these programs through December 31st really is the way that we're going to be able to make sure that these kids are going to be able to eat. Without additional congressional authorization and appropriations, we don't know what's going to happen beyond December 31st. If there are additional appropriations and additional authority granted to USDA, we're hopeful that these flexibilities through allowing sponsors to operate under school seamless summer option or the summer food service program will continue. But right now, as it stands, without that, we know that you will need to pivot as of January 1st to school breakfast, school lunch, and we are aware that that will create a challenge for those kids who do live a long distance from their school, especially if they're participating in a hybrid or a remote learning model. So we continue to have that on the forefront of our brains. That's a huge deal in Connecticut, and we want to make sure that these programs are able to meet the kids regardless of where they live and regardless of where they attend school. If they need access to these nutrition programs to support their education, we will figure out how, some way, we're going to make that happen. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Fanula.
A question came in and it kind of lets me bring up one other thing I wanted to bring up. The question is, the application for the seamless summer option was just entered online and has an end date of September 30th. Will we have to do another application for after September 30th for 2021? And the answer is yes. The application reminder that Terry mentioned that was due September 15th, your 2021 National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program online application that has the seamless summer option embedded in that. So we will need to review that, send it back to you, and at some point in October, we'll be sending out brief instructions to go in and update the seamless summer sites in your 2021 online application to cover October, November, and December. So I think that answers that question. And I just wanted to mention, Shannon spoke to the allowability of weekend meals under the seamless summer option. Please note that anyone who's looking to do that, which would need to update their online application to reflect that. So you need approval to be able to serve meals, which meet the meal pattern on Saturdays and Sundays under the seamless summer option, but you'll need to indicate that in the online system for both September and or at any point in time. We also get a question, maybe some schools normally operate just breakfast, but now under the seamless summer option, maybe looking to offer, just offer lunch, and maybe looking now to offer breakfast and lunch under the seamless summer option. Again, your online system needs to be updated and approved in order for you to enter and then receive reimbursement for that. And reach out to your county consultant if you have any more specific questions on that.
Thank you so much. And that also reminds me, we have spent quite a bit of time as a team trying to figure out if there is any possible way that we wouldn't need to require you to submit both in September and October. But as I mentioned earlier, it is the Happy New Year coming up next week for the federal fiscal year, and that is what really is creating this. So that even though the flexibilities have been extended beyond the federal fiscal year to go through the end of the calendar year, this is the fun, adventurous time where we get to try and find, we have state fiscal year, we have the federal fiscal year, we have the calendar year, and all of these things don't always align, but there is there's just no way around being able to allow that. So we will send out instructions to be able to remind you, and we will remind you because we want to make sure that you have your applications approved in the new federal fiscal year and in this federal fiscal year, because that is what allows us to be able to authorize those reimbursements. So Caroline, I think you had your hand up, or you were just waving.
Me, no, I had my hand up. I just wanted to put in a quick notation for folks, because I've been getting questions, and I suspect Teresa has been getting questions as well from our SFSP friends. The system is slightly different for SSO versus SFSP in terms of updating your online agreement. We know that our SFSP sponsors are very familiar with doing their site applications, but the timeline is going to be slightly off because Teresa and I are working to get all of your sites added for you to be able to do the site application. So although the area eligibility waiver application indicated step 3 is updating your online agreement, that's really directed more towards SSO, because those are in a little bit better shape to get moving on. For SFSP, you will get an email either from Teresa or myself when we have gotten all of your sites added, so that you can go in and update some dates for the ones that you were serving over the summer, create some site applications for new sites based on all of your schools now operating, which most were not over the summer. So that's step 1 for program year 1920, and then after we get through that and get those approved, it will allow us to create the new program year, so that hopefully we can roll as much of the information forward for you. That's why it's a step-by-step process. So SSO is stepping a little bit faster than us. I apologize, but I promise we'll catch up and we will communicate with you. We won't let you fall through the gaps.
Little friendly competition between the teams never hurts, right? So we do have a question around, oh, sorry, Susan, go ahead.
I just want to make a plug. You were talking about the change of the fiscal years. And one thing I want everyone to remember to do is we've had some people that have forgotten to submit claims, so SSO claims. They may have put them in. The summer was very busy. They may not have been submitted by one of their authorized signers. So please look back under, school year 19 in your SSO, even in your NSLP. Make sure all your claims have been submitted. If they haven't, we're at the point where if you're past 60 days, you'll have to, reach out to me. I can extend the one-time exception to you if you have that available. But I do know that there's a few people that may have not placed their June claim. So really look back. If you should have the claim for one of those months you did operate, you don't want to lose that money. So as we're kind of closing out fiscal year 20 and moving into fiscal year 21, make sure that your claims have been submitted. If you realize that you can't, reach out to me and we'll figure out your next steps for getting that claim paid. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And if you already have an email from Susan Alston letting you know that you didn't submit claims and you're already past that 60-day period, please just do a quick search in your inbox, see if you have anything from Susan Alston. And if you do, and it says that you have some claims that may have been submitted and not authorized, or just haven't been submitted at all, just follow those instructions, because we want to make sure that you get the reimbursement. So thanks. Terry, next question is on deck for you. Oh, you're on mute. The joys of technology.
If a student from another district attends our district, the district they come from is a CEP district, and we are not. Does the student automatically qualify for free meals? Well, it depends. Like if you're participating in SSO, the Seamless Summer option, they would be free. But if you're talking about the National School Lunch Program, in the eligibility manual guidance, it gives you some information about carryover of eligibility and transitioning from CEP schools to non-CEP schools. For example, choice students. There may be choice students that are out in other schools, and they may belong originally to Hartford, and they are going to suburban schools. And so in those instances, you would be able to allow them a carryover period to allow the parent or the guardian to submit an application. And if you want specific guidance or you want to know where it is in the eligibility manual or the language, email me. I'll be happy to send it to you.
Thank you. That was a great trick question. So with all these flexibilities, these ones are a little bit difficult. Fionnuala, did you have something to add, or are you just, I feel like that we're at an auction, and if you guys move, I might call on you. So just jump in, unmute yourselves if you want to add anything. We have about 2 more minutes, so if you have any burning questions you want to ask the team, now's your time to speed type those into the question box. Or you can just stare at us too, also an option. Have to bring a little humor into this, right? All right, I'm not seeing any further questions, so we have one more clarifying question that just popped in. So I'll let our team read that. And I just want to remind you that the last webinar in this town hall series that we have scheduled is next Wednesday, the end of the federal fiscal year. So certainly join us for that, and definitely send us your questions ahead of time so that we can go ahead and make sure that we are going to address those on the town hall. And even if we don't have the answers, we'll let you know we don't have the answers. All right, so Terry, if you want to go ahead and answer that follow-up question.
Sure. What I'm going to ask is that the follow-up to the original question was, so choice students would work the same as a transferred student. And I'm going to have you contact me because it depends on the transferred student, and there's different language in the eligibility manual guidance that addresses it. So send me an email this afternoon or tomorrow, and I'll get right back to you.
Thanks so much, Terry. So we did have one final question make it in before the end line, and that's around the fresh fruit and vegetable program. So this is an extremely important program, and we know a lot of districts have applied for it. We have been able to receive some flexibilities and others not so much. So I think if you have particular circumstances, certainly reach out to Anzie Paul on our team, who administers the fresh fruit and vegetable program. The fresh fruit and vegetable program will be allowed to operate in conjunction with whether you choose the school breakfast, school lunch route, whether you choose the seamless summer option route or the summer food service program route. We are currently allowed to authorize parents and guardians to pick those fresh fruit and vegetables up on behalf of the children in that school district. What we have submitted a waiver request for, but we currently do not have authorization for it, is to be able to distribute that fresh fruit and vegetable outside of the site that it is authorized for. So these are specific to elementary schools. So whichever elementary school that you have been granted the fresh fruit and vegetable program, been awarded for that, that currently is the school that you need to distribute those vegetables and fruits out of. You do not have to provide the activity component, and you also have the ability to flex the meal service time. So you can, if for your hybrid and remote learners, you're distributing meals for them to take off site. For, let's say you're distributing on Monday for the students who are eating that breakfast and lunch on Tuesday, somewhere outside of your school, you can also give them that fresh fruit and vegetable. But right now you have to give that to them at the site. We will certainly let you know if that changes. We know a lot of you have chosen alternate sites to be able to distribute meals for your remote learners and for your hybrid students. And so if that, certainly let us know if that becomes a challenge. That's something that we can also help to make our case for why we need that waiver authority with the USDA. So let us know what's going on. Certainly reach out to Anzie Paul for that, and let us know what kind of challenges you have, because that helps us know what types of flexibilities that we can request. So with that, we, true to nature, went a few minutes over, and that's just how we roll. So we want to make sure that we take into account the questions that are asked. So thank you all for everything you're doing out there. Reach out to us, let us know how it's going. We are cheering you on. As John said in the beginning of this, you know, we are making sure that all of our leadership and that leadership throughout the state understands how complex this is and what an amazing job all of you are doing. So thank you, keep up the great work. It makes a huge difference for your households. So with that, thank you to my team, you're amazing. And everyone have a great afternoon. We'll see you at the end of the federal fiscal year next Wednesday.